Before we begin, take a slow breath. Inhale through your nose. Exhale gently through your heart. Many people think they know what makes a man strong: his muscles, his money, his confidence. But what if true strength hides behind silence? What if the same man who stands tall in the world is quietly fighting battles no one can see? Today, I invite you to listen not to the noise of judgment, but to the whispers of truth. Because when you understand a man's hidden weaknesses, you don't just see who he is. You understand what makes him human. The beginning of understanding. Before we begin, take a deep breath. Inhale slowly. Feel the air fill your lungs. Exhale gently. Feel the tension leave your body. Relax your shoulders. Soften your gaze. Let your mind settle like still water after a storm. Because when the surface becomes still, the reflection becomes clear. And only in stillness can we see the truth. Many people come to me and ask, "Master, why do men hide their weaknesses? Why do they seem so strong outside, yet so lost within?" I smile, because the answer is not in the surface of the question, but in the depth of human conditioning. From the moment a boy begins to walk, he is told, "Don't cry, be strong, be a man." He learns that pain is not to be expressed but buried. He learns that fear is not to be shared but fought in silence. And so he grows into a man who wears strength like armor, a shield that hides his deepest wounds. But listen carefully, my dear sisters. When a man appears strong, it does not mean he feels unbreakable. When he seems calm, it does not mean he is at peace. Sometimes his silence is a cry, one that has never been heard. Today, we do not speak to expose men. We speak to understand them, because understanding is the highest form of love. If you can see beyond the walls of pride, if you can look through the quietness of his eyes, you will see a soul that has been carrying the weight of expectations, dreams, disappointments, and duties, often without a place to rest. You see, a man's weaknesses are not flaws. They are hidden reflections of his humanity. And when a woman begins to see those reflections clearly, she no longer reacts, she responds. She no longer competes, she connects. She no longer judges, she understands. Before you learn the 6 weaknesses of a man, you must first prepare your heart, because knowledge without compassion becomes control, but knowledge with empathy becomes power. The kind of power that does not dominate, but heals. So today, I invite you to listen, not only with your ears, but with your soul. Do not listen to find faults. Listen to find understanding. Because every man, no matter how strong, has a part of him that longs to be seen without judgment, heard without interruption, and loved without condition. This is the beginning of understanding. To realize that even strength has softness within it, and even silence has stories to tell. Breathe in, slowly. Exhale, gently. Let your heart open to truth. Because when you understand the hidden weaknesses of a man, you will not only see who he is, you will understand what makes him human. Weakness 1. The fear of failure. Before we go deeper, take a slow breath. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Let go of everything that distracts you. Let your focus return to this moment, here, now. The first weakness every woman must understand in a man is the fear of failure. This fear is not always loud. It doesn't always appear as trembling hands or nervous words. Sometimes it hides behind confidence. Sometimes it disguises itself as ambition. Sometimes it wears a mask of anger or silence. But behind all those layers, there is a boy who once believed that love and respect were given only when he succeeded. From childhood, men are taught that they must earn their worth, that they must prove their value through strength, through results, through winning. And every time they fall short, something deep inside whispers, "You are not enough." So when a man fails, At work, in love, in life, he does not just lose a battle. He feels as if he loses himself. He questions his identity. He questions his purpose. He wonders if he still deserves to be respected, to be loved, to be seen as the man. But what the world never told him is this: failure is not a mirror of weakness, as it is a teacher of wisdom. Every fall, every mistake, every setback is not a punishment. It is preparation. Yet most men cannot hear this truth because the noise of judgment is too loud. The world claps for victory but stays silent during struggle, and that silence becomes heavy. It presses on the heart until it begins to harden. My dear sisters, when you see a man withdraw after failure, don't rush to label him as distant or careless. Don't say he doesn't care anymore, because often he cares too much. He simply doesn't know how to show his pain. His pride will not allow him to say, "I'm afraid." So he hides. He becomes quiet. He spends hours in his thoughts, not because he doesn't love you, but because he doesn't want you to see his defeat. And this is where your wisdom as a woman becomes power. Do not try to fix him. Do not try to remind him of what went wrong. Instead, remind him that he is still worthy, that his value is not measured by his success, but by his effort, his intention, his heart. Speak softly. Listen deeply. Let your presence become his calm after the storm. When a man feels safe in your understanding, he begins to rise again. He no longer fears falling because he knows, even if he falls, he will not fall alone. So remember this truth. A man's fear of failure is not weakness. It is his silent desire to be enough. And when you see that, not with judgment, but with compassion, you do not just heal his fear, you awaken his courage. Weakness 2. The need to be needed. Before you continue listening, pause for a moment. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and release it slowly. Feel the rhythm of your heart. Feel the quiet truth within your chest, because what we speak of now is not just a man's weakness, it is a man's longing. The second weakness every woman must understand is this: a man carries a deep, unspoken need to be needed. It is not ego, it is not pride, it is purpose. From his earliest days, a man is taught that his worth lies in what he does, not in who he is. He learns that love must be earned through action, through protection, through provision, through performance. And so he grows to believe that if he is not useful, he is not valuable. This is why men are drawn to challenges, why they work tirelessly to provide, why they want to fix things, even the things that cannot be fixed, because somewhere inside there is a voice whispering, "If I am not needed, I will be forgotten." My dear sisters, you must understand this delicate truth. When a man feels that he no longer matters, his spirit begins to fade. He may not show it in words, but you will feel it in his energy. A quiet distance, a silent detachment. And often women mistake this for disinterest, but it is not disinterest, it is disconnection, a loss of purpose in the presence of the one he loves most. In today's world, women have become stronger, independent, capable, powerful, and that is beautiful. But sometimes, in the pursuit of independence, we unknowingly build walls that say, "I don't need you." A man does not wish to own your strength, he wishes to stand beside it. He does not wish to control your path, he wishes to walk alongside it. The art lies not in dependence, but in balance. You can be strong and still allow him to protect you. You can be independent and still allow him to contribute. Because what he seeks is not your weakness, he seeks your trust, the permission to add meaning to your life. When a woman makes a man feel needed, not out of desperation, but out of respect, he gives everything. His loyalty deepens, his energy strengthens, his love becomes unstoppable. But when he feels unneeded, he may not argue or complain. He will simply retreat into silence, not out of anger, but out of sorrow. Because in his heart he begins to ask, "If I am not needed, who am I now?" So remember this truth. A wise woman never diminishes her own power. She simply makes space for his. She honors his role, not because she cannot stand alone, but because she understands that love is not a contest. It is coexistence. When a man feels truly needed, he no longer seeks validation from the world, because he has already found meaning in your eyes. Breathe in, exhale softly. This is not about weakness, this is about connection. And connection, that is where love begins to grow. Weakness 3, emotional isolation. Weakness 4, the burden of expectations. Before we begin, take a deep breath. Inhale slowly through your nose, exhale gently through your mouth. Now, feel your heart. Listen not with your ears, but with your soul. Because what we speak of next touches the silent suffering of many men. The third weakness every woman must understand is emotional isolation. You see, most men live behind walls, invisible but heavy. Walls made not of stone, but of silence. From boyhood, they are told, don't cry. Be tough, handle it. And so they learn to swallow their pain, to bury their fears, to fight their battles alone. Even when their heart aches, they smile. Even when they are lost, they act like they know the way. Even when they are breaking, they say, I'm fine. It is not that they cannot feel, they feel deeply. But they have been taught that emotion makes them weak, that vulnerability is a crack in the armor of manhood. And so, when life gets heavy, they hide behind work, behind silence, behind distance. And women often misread this silence. They think, he doesn't care. But what if I told you? He cares too much. He stays quiet, not because he doesn't love you, but because he fears being misunderstood. He is protecting you from his storm. A wise woman learns not to force emotion from a man. She learns to create a space so calm, so accepting, that his walls begin to soften on their own. She doesn't say, talk to me. She says, through her energy, it's safe to be you here. And that, my dear sisters, is how you touch a man's soul, not through questions, but through presence, not through pressure, but through peace. Now, the fourth weakness, the burden of expectations. A man is expected to be strong, to protect, to provide, to never fall. The world applauds him when he wins, but rarely embraces him when he is tired. He is told to hold everyone together, yet no one asks who holds him. This burden is invisible, yet it is heavy. It weighs on his spirit like unseen armor. He carries the weight of being enough every single day. Enough for his family, enough for society, enough for the image of the man he is supposed to be. But who tells him that it's okay to rest? Who reminds him that strength is not the absence of pain, but the courage to face it? A woman who understands this does not demand perfection from him. She offers peace to him. She sees beyond the roles he plays and connects with the man beneath them. Because when a man feels accepted even in his weakness, he no longer needs to hide behind strength. He begins to breathe again. So remember this truth. You cannot reach a man's heart by challenging his armor. You reach it by showing him he no longer needs it. Inhale deeply, exhale softly. When understanding replaces judgment, connection replaces distance, and in that connection, healing begins. Weakness 5. The temptation of ego. Weakness 6. The fear of losing control. Before we begin this final reflection, take one deep breath. Inhale, hold it for a moment, and slowly let it go. Feel the stillness settle within you, because what we are about to speak of touches the most delicate parts of a man's inner world, the places he rarely allows anyone to see. The fifth weakness every woman must understand is the temptation of ego. The male ego is not evil. It is not pride for the sake of arrogance. It is the fragile shell protecting the boy who still lives inside. A boy who once needed praise to feel seen, approval to feel worthy, and success to feel loved. As that boy grows into a man, he carries this same desire to be respected, acknowledged, admired. So when a woman appreciates him, he expands. He feels alive, confident, capable. But when she mocks, belittles, or compares, his ego, like glass, begins to crack. He may not show pain, he may turn distant, defensive, or silent. But deep within, he bleeds quietly, because to a man, respect is love spoken in his language. My dear sisters, understand this. You do not have to worship a man to honor him, but when you respect his efforts, even in his imperfection, you awaken his greatness. The wise woman never battles a man's ego. She learns to guide it. She knows when to be firm and when to be gentle. She knows that a man will walk through fire for the woman who believes in him, but he will shut his heart to the one who tries to control him. And now, we come to the sixth weakness, the fear of losing control. This is the silent guardian that hides behind every man's strength. You see, men are taught to lead, to protect, to provide stability. Control gives them a sense of direction, a sense of safety in a world full of uncertainty. But love, real love, asks him to do the hardest deed, HENG of all, to surrender, to open his heart, to trust. And this terrifies him, because in vulnerability, he fears losing his power, his dignity, his identity. He thinks if he lets someone too close, they might see his insecurities, his doubts, his softness. Yet what he does not realize is this: the moment he allows himself to be seen, he becomes more powerful, not less. A woman's love can teach him this truth, not through force, but through presence. When she is calm, he softens. When she listens without judgment, he feels safe. And when she stands firm in her grace, he learns that surrender does not mean losing control. It means sharing it. So, my dear sisters, do not fear a man's ego and do not challenge his control. Instead, meet them both with understanding, because when a man feels safe to be vulnerable, his heart opens, his trust deepens, and his love transforms. And in that space, where ego dissolves and fear fades, he finds peace. He finds himself. Breathe in slowly. Exhale gently. Remember this truth: you cannot change a man by fighting his nature, but you can awaken his higher nature by loving him with patience, respect, and wisdom. And when you do not just understand a man, you help him evolve